Chosen one. Have you ever sat alone at your kitchen table at 3 a.m., staring at your phone, wondering why your own children haven't called in months? Have you ever felt the sharp blade of betrayal cut deeper when it came from your own sister's lips, your own brother's silence, your own mother's cold shoulder turned against you? Have you ever whispered into the darkness, "God, why did the very people who share my blood become the first to shed it?" If that question just hit you like lightning in your chest, if your heart is pounding right now because someone finally put words to your deepest wound, I want you to comment, "That's me right now." Don't scroll away. Don't run from this moment. Because what I'm about to reveal to you is not for everyone browsing through videos tonight. This word is for the chosen ones only. Before we dive deeper into this sacred truth, I want to pause and thank every single one of you who has supported this message through super thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just donating. You're helping spread light to others who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here. Your support, your time, your attention, it all matters. And if this message resonates with your soul, go ahead and sow that seed of faith. Tonight, on the 1st of September, this very date that heaven has marked on its calendar, I'm going to shatter the lie that has tormented you for years. The lie that says their rejection means something is wrong with you. The lie that whispers you're too old, too broken, too forgotten to matter anymore. By the time we reach the end of this message, you will understand why their betrayal was actually the loudest confirmation of your divine calling. You will see why God allowed your own flesh and blood to turn away, not to destroy you, but to prepare you for something so magnificent that ordinary relationships could never contain it. Stay with me, beloved, because heaven has been waiting for this very moment, the 1st of September, to unveil the mystery that will transform your deepest wound into your greatest weapon. The room is about to change, the atmosphere is shifting, and your destiny is about to be revealed. This is your divine appointment. Don't you dare scroll away. Why do your own grandchildren look at you with that strange distance in their eyes? Why does your daughter change the subject every time you mention your faith? Why does your son roll his eyes when you share what God showed you in a dream last night? Dear chosen one, let me tell you something that will cut through the confusion and pain you've been carrying for years. You didn't lose your family's love because you became too old, too irrelevant, or too out of touch with modern times. You lost their comfort because you became too anointed, too awakened, too aligned with heaven's frequency. There is a mark on your life, not visible to the naked eye, but blazing like a beacon in the spiritual realm. This mark was placed on you the moment God chose you for His purposes, and it has been growing brighter with every prayer you've prayed, every tear you've shed, every night you've stayed up seeking His face while the world slept in spiritual darkness. Think about Joseph. Genesis 37 tells us his father gave him a coat of many colors. That coat wasn't just beautiful fabric, it was a visible sign of his father's favor, his special calling, his divine destiny. But what happened when his brothers saw that coat? Did they celebrate? Did they rejoice? Number. They burned with jealousy, so fierce it led them to throw their own flesh and blood into a pit and sell him into slavery. Your family sees your spiritual coat, chosen one. They see how you've been marked, how you've been set apart, how God's favor rests upon your life in ways they don't understand. And just like Joseph's brothers, instead of celebrating what God has done in you, many of them feel convicted, threatened, exposed by the very light you carry. You remember those silent dinners, don't you? When you tried to share what God was doing in your life, and suddenly everyone found their phones more interesting than your testimony. You remember being called too intense when you wanted to pray before the meal. You remember the eye rolls, the subject changes, the awkward silences that followed whenever you mentioned the Lord's goodness. But here's the truth that will set you free from the torment of wondering what you did wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. You did everything right. Your light exposed their shadows. Your presence convicted their silence. Your faithfulness highlighted their compromise. Jesus himself faced this exact rejection. Mark 6:4 records his words. A prophet is not without honor, except in his own town, among his relatives and in his own home. The Son of God, perfect in every way, was rejected by his own hometown, dismissed by his own family members, who said, "Isn't this just the carpenter's son? Who does he think he is?" If they rejected the sinless Son of God, why would you expect different treatment? If they couldn't handle pure light walking among them, how can they handle the reflection of that light shining through you? Listen carefully to what I'm about to tell you, because this is where the mystery deepens and your understanding begins to shift everything. The rejection you've experienced from your family isn't random. It's not because you've changed for the worse. It's because you've been transformed for the better. And transformation always threatens those who are still bound by the familiar chains of mediocrity. When you started spending more time in prayer, when you began to see through spiritual eyes, when you started walking in the authority that comes from intimate relationship with the Almighty, something shifted in the atmosphere around you. Your very presence began to expose the emptiness of small talk, the shallowness of worldly pursuits, the poverty of living without divine purpose. Your children feel it when you walk into the room. Not consciously, but spiritually. Something in them recognizes that you carry something they've rejected, something they've walked away from, something they've traded for the temporary pleasures of this world. And instead of being drawn to seek what you have found, they distance themselves to escape the conviction. Your siblings feel it during family gatherings. While they're gossiping and complaining, you're speaking life and hope. While they're drowning in bitterness over old wounds, you're walking in forgiveness and freedom. While they're aging with resentment, you're growing in grace. The contrast is so stark it makes them uncomfortable in their own skin. But chosen one, understand this profound truth. Their discomfort is not your problem to solve. Their conviction is not your burden to carry. Their rejection is not your failure to bear. You were not marked by God to make everyone comfortable. You were marked to make a difference. It wasn't because you were wrong, it was because you were right. Your light exposed their shadows. Your presence convicted their silence. Your faithfulness revealed their compromise. And instead of rising to meet you where God had lifted you, they chose to push you away to preserve their comfort zones. Comment: chosen. If you know deep down this word is pulling on your spirit, because what I'm about to reveal next will explain why God specifically allows this family rejection to happen, and why the 1st of September marks the beginning of your greatest turnaround. The pain you've been carrying has been preparing you for a purpose so magnificent that ordinary relationships could never contain it. Stay with me, because the next revelation will show you exactly what that purpose looks like. Chosen one, I need to tell you something that will cut deep, but it will also set you free. The devil is not stupid. He's calculated. He's strategic. And when he looked at your life and saw the calling God placed on you before you were even born, he knew he couldn't destroy what heaven had already ordained. But what he could do was try to cripple you at your most vulnerable point, your family. Listen to me carefully. The enemy doesn't waste his ammunition on nobodies. He doesn't deploy his finest weapons against people who pose no threat to his kingdom. But you've been in his crosshairs since the day you drew your first breath, because hell saw what heaven placed inside you. Think about this. When a master strategist wants to bring down a fortress, does he attack the strongest wall? Number. He finds the weakest point, the place where the foundation is most vulnerable. And in your life, that place has always been your family. Why? Because family is where your heart began. Family is where your trust was first formed. Family is where your deepest need for acceptance was planted. The devil knows that if a stranger rejects you, you can brush it off. They don't know me, you tell yourself. They don't understand my heart. But when your own mother dismisses your faith as foolishness, when your own brother rolls his eyes at your spiritual encounters, when your own children stop calling because they think you've become too religious, that cuts to the bone. That plants seeds of doubt that can grow into forests of fear. This is not coincidence, dear one. This is warfare. Look at the pattern in Scripture. Joseph didn't face his greatest opposition from Pharaoh's court. His deepest wounds came from his own brothers, who threw him into a pit and sold him into slavery. Why? Because his prophetic dreams revealed God's favor on his life, and that favor exposed their own spiritual emptiness. Genesis 37:11 tells us his brothers were jealous of him. Jealousy breeds betrayal, and betrayal always cuts deepest when it comes from those who should love you most. David wasn't overlooked by enemy armies. He was forgotten by his own father. When Samuel came to anoint the next king, Jesse paraded 7 sons before the prophet, but left David in the fields with the sheep. His own father thought so little of his youngest son that he didn't even bother to call him home. 1 Samuel 16:11 records Samuel asking, "Are these all the sons you have?" Even the prophet of God had to insist that David be brought in from the margins where his family had placed him. And Jesus, the Son of the living God himself, faced his most brutal rejection, not from Roman soldiers, but from his own hometown. Mark 6:4 captures his pain. A prophet is not without honor except in his own town, among his relatives, and in his own home. His own neighbors tried to throw him off a cliff. His own family thought he was out of his mind. Mark 3:21 says, his family went to take charge of him, for they said, he is out of his mind. Do you see the pattern? The enemy has been using the same playbook for thousands of years because it works. He attacks through family, because family rejection doesn't just hurt your feelings, it attacks your identity. It makes you question not just what you believe, but who you are. You've felt this, haven't you? When your own children stopped inviting you to family gatherings because they were tired of your preaching. When your siblings started whispering behind your back about how you've changed since you got serious about God. When your grandchildren were told not to spend too much time with you because you might influence them with your faith. Each rejection felt like a knife twisting in your chest, because these weren't strangers, these were your people. The ones who were supposed to know you, love you, support you. Instead, they became the very voices the enemy used to whisper, maybe you're wrong, maybe you're too extreme, maybe you really are losing your mind. But here's what the devil didn't count on. Here's where his strategy backfired in ways he never imagined. Every rejection from family pushed you deeper into the arms of your heavenly Father. Every dismissal from your bloodline drove you closer to your spiritual family. Every time they mocked your faith, heaven was marking you as authentic. The enemy thought he could break you by turning your own flesh against you. But what he actually did was prove that you belong to a different kingdom. What he meant for your destruction, God has turned into your confirmation. The very fact that your family rejects your spiritual walk is evidence that your spiritual walk is real. If strangers had mocked you, you would have brushed it off. But because it was family, because it cut so deep, the enemy thought he had delivered a fatal blow. Yet God turned their rejection into the loudest confirmation of your calling. Their inability to understand you is proof that you operate in a realm they cannot comprehend. Their discomfort with your spiritual encounters is evidence that those encounters are genuine. The enemy uses family first because he knows it hurts most, but God allows it because he knows it helps most. Helps separate you from depending on human approval, helps drive you to depend solely on his love, helps position you for a destiny that no earthly relationship could contain. You are not broken, chosen one. You are not too much. You are not losing your mind. You are exactly who God called you to be, and their rejection is simply proof that heaven's mark on your life is undeniable. If this truth is piercing your heart right now, if you're seeing your family rejection in a completely new light, don't keep this revelation to yourself. Share this message with another chosen one who needs to understand that their deepest wound might actually be their greatest confirmation. But there's something else you need to understand about this divine separation, something that will explain why God had to pull you away from even those you love most. Dear chosen one, I need to speak directly to that ache in your chest, That hollow sound that echoes through your living room at 7 p.m. when the phone doesn't ring. When your own children drive past your street without stopping. When your grandchildren know their video games better than they know your voice. You sit there in that same chair, watching the same evening news, and you wonder, did I become invisible? Did I somehow disappear while I was still breathing? But listen to me carefully, beloved. What if I told you that every empty evening, every silent phone, every missed Sunday dinner wasn't abandonment at all? What if it was appointment? A divine appointment with the Almighty Himself. You see, there's something the world doesn't understand about God's training ground. It's not found in the noise. It's not discovered in the crowd. It's forged in the furnace of holy isolation. Think about this. When a farmer plants a seed, does he leave it on top of the soil where everyone can see it? Number, he buries it deep in the dark earth, away from all light, away from all company. That seed doesn't know why it's alone. It doesn't understand why it's been separated from the sun, from the world above. All it knows is darkness. All it feels is isolation. But what the seed can't see is that this burial isn't its burial, it's its beginning. You thought God abandoned you when your daughter stopped calling every Sunday. You thought heaven forgot your address when your son moved 3 states away without a forwarding number. But no, chosen one. He was planting you. He was positioning you in the fertile soil of solitude, where your true roots could finally grow deep enough to support the weight of your destiny. Moses didn't lead Israel out of Egypt at 25. He led them at 80. 80 years old. For 40 years, he wandered in the wilderness, isolated from the palace he once knew, separated from the people he would one day deliver. Do you think those were wasted years? Do you think God miscalculated Moses' timeline? Every year of isolation was preparing him for the weight of 2 million souls crying out for deliverance. Every night alone with the sheep was training his ears to hear the voice of the great shepherd. Every sunset in that empty desert was teaching him that God's presence is more faithful than human company. But here's what breaks my heart about your story. You've been sitting in that isolation thinking you did something wrong, thinking your family turned away because you weren't good enough, weren't interesting enough, weren't worth their time anymore. You've been measuring your value by the frequency of their visits, the length of their calls, the warmth of their embrace. Stop, right there. Stop. Your worth was never determined by their presence. Your calling was never validated by their approval. Your destiny was never contingent on their understanding. You were chosen before they were born. You were marked before they took their first breath. You were set apart before they even knew your name. Think about the eagle, chosen one. When it's time for the eaglet to learn to fly, what does the mother eagle do? Does she coddle it in the nest? Does she bring it more comfortable twigs and softer feathers? Number. She pushes it out. She forces it into the terrifying emptiness of open air. Not because she hates it, but because she knows something the eaglet doesn't know yet. It was born to soar, not to sit. Your family's distance isn't cruelty, it's curriculum. Their silence isn't punishment, it's preparation. God is using their absence to teach you something you could never learn in their presence. That He is enough, that His voice is clearer than their chatter, that His love is more constant than their approval. In 1 Kings 19, Elijah ran to a cave, exhausted and alone. He was so isolated he begged God to take his life. But it wasn't in the earthquake that God spoke to him. It wasn't in the wind or the fire. It was in the still, small voice that whispered in the silence. The same silence you've been sitting in, the same solitude you've been enduring. You thought you were being forgotten, but you were being positioned to hear what the noise of family gatherings and holiday chaos could never allow you to hear. The whisper of your true calling, the gentle nudge toward your real purpose, the quiet confirmation that your greatest days aren't behind you, they're ahead of you. Here's the shocking truth they don't want you to know. Your isolation has been your graduate school. Every quiet evening has been a masterclass in discernment. Every lonely meal has been training in self-reliance. Every silent phone has been teaching you to tune into heaven's frequency instead of Earth's static. But the 1st of September changes everything. Today marks the end of your preparation and the beginning of your manifestation. The seed that has been buried in the dark soil of solitude is about to break through the surface. The eaglet that was pushed from the nest is about to discover it can fly higher than it ever imagined. Your isolation was never punishment, chosen one. It was your preparation, the furnace that shaped your authority, the wilderness that refined your character, the cave that amplified God's voice in your spirit, and now the question that will determine your next chapter. Are you ready to step out of the cave and into the calling that isolation has been preparing you for? Chosen one, now that you understand why your family turned against you, the burning question becomes this: what do you do with that pain? How do you respond when your own flesh and blood look at you like you're a stranger? When your sister rolls her eyes at your faith? When your grown children act embarrassed by your prayers? When your spouse tells you to tone it down at family gatherings? Listen to me carefully, because your response in this moment will either delay your destiny or accelerate it into the stratosphere. You are standing at a crossroads right now, and the choice you make will echo through eternity. Here's what most people do wrong. They fight fire with fire. They argue. They defend. They try to prove their worth to people who have already made up their minds. They waste precious breath explaining divine encounters to dead ears. But chosen one, that is not your way. That is not the path of power. First response: pray. Don't argue. When your family attacks your faith, when they mock your relationship with God, when they call you too religious or brainwashed, your flesh wants to fight back. Your emotions scream for vindication, but the Spirit whispers something different. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Jesus spoke those words while nails pierced his hands. If the Son of God could pray for his executioners, you can pray for your relatives. This isn't weakness, dear one. This is warfare. Every prayer you whisper for their salvation is a missile launched into enemy territory. Every blessing you speak over them is a bomb that destroys the strongholds, keeping them blind. But here's the supernatural truth. When you pray for someone who hurt you, you don't just free them. You free yourself. You break the chains of bitterness before they can wrap around your heart. You rise above their level and operate from heaven's frequency. Second response: sacred silence. Not every prophetic dream needs to be shared at the dinner table. Not every divine encounter requires family validation. Joseph made this mistake early on, sharing his dreams with brothers who weren't ready to receive them. Genesis 37 tells us his brothers hated him all the more because of his dream and what he had said. Wisdom knows when to speak and when to be silent. There are seasons when God calls you to guard your pearls, to protect the sacred mysteries he's shared with you. Your family's inability to understand doesn't diminish the reality of your experiences. The burning bush still burned whether Pharaoh believed Moses or not. Sometimes silence is your greatest sermon. Sometimes your consistent walk speaks louder than 1,000 explanations. Let your life become the testimony they cannot argue with. Third response: unwavering consistency. Here's where most chosen ones stumble. They let rejection make them inconsistent. When family mocks their faith, they start hiding their Bible. When relatives criticize their prayers, they start praying in secret shame. When loved ones question their calling, they begin to question it themselves. No, your consistency is your weapon. Keep praying when they roll their eyes. Keep believing when they call you delusional. Keep walking with God when they walk away from you. Let your unwavering faith become the rock they cannot move, the truth they cannot deny. Daniel didn't stop praying when the law forbade it. The 3 Hebrew boys didn't bow when everyone else did. Your consistency in the face of opposition is what separates the chosen from the crowd. Fourth response: protect your peace. You must learn to set spiritual boundaries. Love them without letting their negativity poison your soul. Honor them without allowing their unbelief to shake your foundation. You can be present without being damaged. You can show up without being torn down. This means you don't argue theology at Thanksgiving dinner. You don't defend every spiritual experience at Christmas morning. You don't cast your pearls before those who will trample them. You protect your peace like the precious commodity it is. If you're still here, it means this message was meant for you. Hit like so I know you're walking with me. Now listen to this revelation that will transform your understanding forever. Every scar you carry is not shame, it is testimony. Every rejection you've endured, every misunderstanding you've suffered, every time they made you feel crazy for believing, all of it was shaping you into someone who could handle the weight of your calling. Every cut became a crown. The very wounds your family inflicted became the places where God's glory shines brightest. Your pain wasn't pointless, it was purposeful. It was preparing you for something so magnificent that those who wounded you will one day bow their heads in recognition. Think about Joseph again. The same brothers who threw him in the pit eventually bowed before him in Egypt. The rejection that nearly killed him became the very thing that positioned him to save nations. Your story will follow the same divine pattern. Here's your climax moment, chosen one. Their rejection is not condemnation, it is confirmation. Every time they turn their backs on you, heaven is nodding in approval. Every time they question your calling, God is confirming it. Every time they make you feel like an outsider, the Almighty is reminding you that you were never meant to fit in. You are not rejected. You are redirected. You are not abandoned. You are appointed. You are not forgotten. You are chosen. The question that will determine your destiny is this: will you respond like the world responds, or will you respond like the chosen one you are? Because your family's final rejection may just be God's ultimate confirmation that your greatest chapter is about to begin. Chosen one, we've journeyed through the pain together. You've seen why they turned against you. You understand the spiritual warfare behind their rejection. Now comes the moment that separates the wounded from the warriors, the victims from the victorious. It's time to step fully into your calling. But let me ask you something that's going to shake you to your core. How many more years are you going to let their voices drown out heaven's voice? How much longer will you shrink back because your sister called you too spiritual, or your son said you were losing it when you shared that prophetic dream? How many more Sundays will you sit in that church pew feeling invisible while God is screaming from the throne room that you are anything but invisible? The enemy has been playing a psychological game with your mind for decades. He's used their rejection to convince you that maybe you misheard God. Maybe that angelic encounter was just your imagination. Maybe those dreams don't mean anything. But chosen one, every time you doubt what heaven confirmed, you give the adversary more power over your destiny. Moses stood before that burning bush at 80 years old. 80. When most people are planning their funerals, God was planning his future. But do you know what Moses said? "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh?" Even after seeing fire that didn't consume, hearing the voice of the Almighty, witnessing the supernatural, he still questioned his calling because of how others had rejected him. Sound familiar? You've been trained in secret, refined through rejection, strengthened by isolation. But Moses had to make a choice that September day at Horeb. He had to stop seeing himself through Egypt's eyes and start seeing himself through heaven's eyes. He had to stop being the rejected Hebrew and become the deliverer of nations. That same choice stands before you right now, on this the 1st of September. Joseph understood this mystery. Sold into slavery by his own brothers at 17, falsely accused at 30, forgotten in prison until 37. But when Pharaoh's dream needed interpretation, when Egypt faced 7 years of famine, when the known world was about to collapse, God didn't call the popular sons. He didn't summon the favored ones. He called the rejected one, the one his own family betrayed. Genesis 41-40 records Pharaoh's words, "You shall be over my house, and all my people shall be ruled according to your word. Only in regard to the throne will I be greater than you." The rejected became the ruler. The cast out became the commander. The forgotten became the Pharaoh's right hand. But here's what Joseph had to do first. He had to stop living as a victim of his brother's betrayal and start living as a vessel of God's purpose. What about you, chosen one? Are you still living as a victim of their rejection, or are you ready to step into your role as heaven's selected vessel? Anna the prophetess waited 84 years in that temple. 84 years of widowhood, prayer, and what looked like wasted devotion to everyone watching. Her family probably whispered, "Poor Anna, still hanging around the temple like she's waiting for something that's never going to happen." But Luke 2:38 tells us that when she saw baby Jesus, she gave thanks to the Lord and spoke of him to all those who looked for redemption in Jerusalem. The woman they thought was delusional became the first female evangelist in the New Testament. Her decades of apparent isolation weren't preparation for irrelevance. They were preparation for recognition. The rejected one became the revealer of the Messiah. Now let me tell you why the 1st of September matters more than any other day in your life. This isn't just another date on your calendar. This is your burning bush moment. This is your palace appointment. This is your temple encounter. Heaven has been positioning you for this exact moment when you would finally understand that their rejection wasn't your disqualification, it was your coronation. Every sleepless night when you cried out, "God, why doesn't my own family understand me?" was building intercession muscles you'll need for the multitudes coming to you for prayer. Every holiday dinner where you felt like the outsider was training you to fellowship with heaven when earth feels foreign. Every time they called you crazy for your spiritual encounters was heaven confirming that you see what they cannot see, hear what they cannot hear, carry what they cannot carry. But stepping into your calling requires you to do what Moses, Joseph, and Anna all had to do. You must stop asking for their permission to be who God created you to be. Stop waiting for your daughter to validate your prophetic dreams. Stop hoping your brother will finally understand your angelic encounters. Stop needing your church family to celebrate what heaven has already confirmed. Your calling doesn't require their approval. It requires your availability. Right now, there's a 6-7-year-old grandmother in Queens who's about to give up on life because she thinks God has forgotten her. There's a 7-4-year-old widower in Brooklyn who's sitting in his apartment believing the enemy's lie that his best days are behind him. There's an 8-1-year-old saint in the Bronx who's been praying for breakthrough for her family for 40 years and thinks her prayers don't matter. They're waiting for you to step into your calling. They need to see what it looks like when someone who's been rejected by family still chooses to believe God's report over man's rejection. Your family's rejection was never your ending. It was heaven's confirmation that you are the one God set apart for such a time as this. The 1st of September marks the shift, the day of recognition, awakening, and authority. The question that will determine your legacy is this: will you finally stop living beneath your calling and start walking in your commission? Type in the comments right now, "I receive this word. The 1st of September is my turning point." Don't think about it. Don't analyze it. Just declare it. Because when you declare it, heaven mobilizes to make it happen. Share this message now. Someone else's destiny may depend on it. Someone else needs to know that family rejection is not the end of their story. It's the beginning of their greatest chapter. Your calling is not on hold because they don't understand it. Your calling is activated because you finally do. Chosen one, listen. There's something happening in the spiritual realm that your natural eyes cannot see. Something your family cannot comprehend. Something that explains why the very people who should have celebrated you became the first to crucify you. Your presence is like a lamp placed in a dark room. The moment you walk in, shadows scatter. Light exposes what was hidden, and some people resent the light. Think about that family dinner where no one speaks to you, yet the silence is louder than words. You felt it, didn't you? That thick, suffocating tension that made you want to disappear. You thought it was rejection, but what if I told you it was recognition? recognition of the light you carry that makes their darkness uncomfortable. When Jesus returned to his hometown in Mark 6:3, his own neighbors said, "Isn't this the carpenter's son? Where did this man get these things?" They couldn't handle the transformation. They preferred him small, manageable, ordinary. The same thing is happening to you. Your family knew you when you were broken. They watched you struggle. They saw you at your lowest point. But now something has shifted. You pray differently. You carry yourself differently. You speak with an authority they've never heard before. And instead of rejoicing, they feel threatened. Chosen one, listen. The Bible says in 1 Corinthians 2:14, "The natural person does not accept the things of the Spirit of God, for they are folly to him, and he is not able to understand them, because they are spiritually discerned." Your family looks at you through natural eyes. They see your age, your past mistakes, your human limitations. But heaven sees your calling. Heaven sees the anointing that rests upon your life. Heaven sees the destiny that burns within your bones. This is why they turned on you. Not because you changed for the worse, but because you changed for the better. Not because you became less, but because you became more. Not because you dimmed your light, but because you let it shine. Remember Joseph? His brothers didn't hate him because he was evil. They hated him because he carried dreams they couldn't understand. Genesis 37:4 tells us, "When his brothers saw that their father loved him more than any of them, they hated him and could not speak a kind word to him." But here's the revelation that will shake you to your core. The enemy was never fighting them. He was fighting what you carry. And he used their faces to wound your heart. Satan knows something your family doesn't know. He sees the assignment on your life. He recognizes the calling that heaven has placed upon you. He understands that your prayers carry weight, your words carry power, your presence carries light, and he will do anything to stop you from stepping into your full identity. So he whispers in their ears. He stirs up jealousy. He plants seeds of doubt. He makes them question why you've become so religious, so spiritual, so different. He uses the very people who share your DNA to make you question your own calling. But chosen one, listen. Their rejection isn't proof that something is wrong with you. Their rejection is proof that something is right with you. Think about it. When was the last time the enemy fought so hard against someone ordinary? When was the last time hell mobilized such opposition against someone insignificant? You're under attack because you're dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. Your 70-year-old grandmother's prayers are shaking demon strongholds. Your 80-year-old grandfather's worship is breaking generational curses. Your presence at that family gathering is exposing spirits that have been operating in your bloodline for decades. This is why they feel uncomfortable around you now. This is why conversations feel strained. This is why they avoid your calls, skip your invitations, treat you like you're contagious with some spiritual disease. But there is a reason God allowed this exact rejection before the 1st of September. A reason why this separation had to happen now. A reason why you had to be pushed into isolation so that heaven could prepare you for what's coming next. Chosen one, listen. You were never meant to be understood by people who live in darkness. You were never meant to be celebrated by those who fear the light. You were never meant to fit in with family members who have chosen comfort over calling. Your rejection is not random. It's strategic. It's not punishment. It's preparation. It's not the end of your story. It's the beginning of your ministry. The same family members who mock your faith today will need your prayers tomorrow. The same relatives who reject your testimony today will witness your miracle tomorrow. The same blood that turned cold toward you today will come running to you when their world falls apart. But here's what you must understand right now. Their opinion of you has no power over God's purpose for you. Their rejection cannot cancel your calling. Their misunderstanding cannot stop your mission. If this is already resonating, type "I still hear you, Lord" in the comments. Seal this moment with faith. Because what I'm about to reveal next will show you exactly why God orchestrated this painful separation to position you for the greatest breakthrough of your entire life. The isolation you're feeling right now isn't abandonment, it's appointment. And the 1st of September marks the beginning of something so magnificent that everything you've suffered will finally make sense. Chosen one, I need you to lean in close right now. What I'm about to tell you will shatter every lie you've believed about yourself for the last 30, 40, maybe 50 years. Your family's rejection is a mirror, but not the kind of mirror that shows you your flaws. It's a prophetic mirror that reflects heaven's truth back to earth. When they said you were too much, too intense, too spiritual, when they rolled their eyes at your prayers, mocked your faith, dismissed your dreams, they were unknowingly echoing what the Almighty had already declared over your life. Set apart. You see, dear one, they couldn't handle your light because it exposed their darkness. Every time you walked into that family gathering with peace in your spirit, their chaos became unbearable to them. Every time you spoke words of wisdom, their foolishness felt threatened. Every time you chose forgiveness over bitterness, their hardened hearts felt convicted. They didn't reject you because you were wrong. They rejected you because you were right. And being right in a world that's gone wrong will always make you the target. Think about Jesus for a moment. When he returned to his hometown of Nazareth, what did they say? Isn't this the carpenter's son? Isn't this Mary's boy? They saw his humanity, but missed his divinity entirely. They knew his earthly family, but couldn't recognize his heavenly Father. They looked at his calloused hands and missed the nail prints that would save the world. This is exactly what your family has done to you. They see your wrinkles, your past mistakes, your human frailties. But heaven sees your mantle. They see your age and call you irrelevant. But God sees your experience and calls you equipped. They see your scars and call you damaged. But the Father sees those same scars and calls them beautiful. You know what breaks my heart? It's when a 75-year-old grandmother calls me, weeping, saying, "Pastor, my own children think I've lost my mind because I spend so much time praying. They say I'm too religious, too caught up in church." And I have to tell her what I'm telling you right now. Their discomfort is not your disorder. Their rejection is not your reflection. Listen to me carefully. When Samuel came to anoint the next king of Israel, Jesse paraded 7 of his sons before the prophet. 7 strong, handsome, impressive young men. But God rejected every single one. Finally, Samuel had to ask, "Are these all your sons?" And Jesse, almost embarrassed, said, "Well, there's still the youngest, but he's out tending sheep." David, the forgotten one, the overlooked one, the one his own father didn't even think to invite to the most important meeting of their lives. But 1 Samuel 16:7 records God's response. The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. Your family looks at your outward appearance, your age, your circumstances, your past failures. But God looks at your heart, and what he sees there is pure gold, refined by fire. What he sees is a vessel that's been emptied of pride so it can be filled with his glory. What he sees is a warrior who's been battle-tested and proven faithful. But here's the revelation that's going to change everything for you. Their rejection is not personal, it's prophetic. It's not about who you are to them. It's about who you are to heaven. Every dismissive word, every eye roll, every time they changed the subject when you tried to share what God was doing in your life, that wasn't rejection. That was recognition. They were recognizing something in you that threatened the comfortable darkness they'd grown accustomed to. You think you've been cast out, but you've actually been called out. You think you've been rejected, but you've been redirected. You think you've been forgotten, but you've been set apart for such a time as this. The prophet Jeremiah understood this. In chapter 1, verse 5, God told him, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart." Set apart, not cast aside, not thrown away, set apart for divine purpose. And right now, as you're listening to these words, something is stirring in your chest, isn't it? Something that's been dormant for years is waking up. That's not coincidence, that's confirmation. The Holy Spirit is bearing witness with your spirit that what I'm saying is true. Your rejection story is about to become your resurrection story. Every wound you've carried is about to become a weapon. Every tear you've shed in secret is about to water the seeds of your greatest testimony. Write in the comments right now, "My scars are my testimony." Don't just listen, declare it. Because in just a moment, I'm going to show you the hidden power in your scars, why every wound you've carried has been strategically placed by heaven to prepare you for the most important battle of your life. The mirror is about to reveal something that will leave your family speechless and your enemies trembling. Are you ready to see what heaven sees when it looks at you? Chosen one, I need you to look down at your hands right now. Look at them, those weathered fingers that have wiped away tears no one else saw. Those palms that have been clasped in desperate prayer at 2 a.m. when sleep wouldn't come. Those knuckles that have knocked on heaven's door until they were raw and bleeding. Do you see those lines? Those age spots? Those places where life has marked you? The world calls them signs of decay, but heaven calls them something else entirely. Heaven calls them your credentials. Every scar on your soul is like a page in your prophetic journal. Every cut that family inflicted is a line of ink that testifies to the world. I survived. I endured. I was chosen to carry this weight. And I'm still standing. You think those scars make you damaged goods. You think those wounds from your own children's rejection make you worthless. Let me tell you something that will shake you to your core. Your scars aren't your shame. They're your signature. Heaven's signature written across your life in pain that became power. I'm talking to the grandmother whose daughter hasn't called in 2 years. I'm talking to the grandfather whose son walked out and never looked back. I'm talking to every senior saint who sits alone on holidays while the family gathers without you, wondering what you did wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. You did something right. You carried light in a dark generation, and light always exposes what people want to keep hidden. Think about it. Why does a child turn against the parent who sacrificed everything for them? Why does a sibling suddenly become cold toward the one who was always there? Why does betrayal cut deepest from those who know you best? Because they see something in you that reminds them of what they're not. Your faithfulness exposes their rebellion. Your prayers reveal their emptiness. Your scars tell the story of a survivor, and that makes their quitting look even more pathetic. But here's what they don't understand. Here's what hell never counted on. Those very wounds they gave you are about to become the healing they desperately need. Psalm 56:8 declares something that will revolutionize how you see every tear. You keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in your bottle. You have recorded each one in your book. Every single tear you've shed because of family betrayal has been collected by the Almighty. Not one drop was wasted. Not one moment of agony was ignored. Heaven has been keeping a record. And every scar they carved into your heart has been counted as a crown waiting to be placed on your head. Look at Joseph. His own brothers stripped him naked, threw him in a pit, and sold him like livestock. For 13 years, those scars burned in his heart. 13 years of wondering why the people who shared his blood became his greatest enemies. 13 years of carrying wounds that seemed to serve no purpose. But Genesis 45:8 reveals the mystery. It was not you who sent me here, but God. Every betrayal had a purpose. Every wound was strategic. Every scar was preparing him for a palace. And when the famine came, when those same brothers who wounded him were starving, where did they have to go? To Joseph. The dreamer they despised became the deliverer they desperately needed. They bowed before the one they had betrayed. Chosen one, are you hearing this? The very wounds they gave you will one day be the healing they run to. The scars they inflicted will become the strength they seek. The rejection that broke your heart will become the restoration that saves their souls. Your children may not call you now, but when their marriages fall apart, they'll remember the prayers you taught them. Your siblings may ignore you today, But when crisis hits their lives, they'll recall the faith you demonstrated. Your family may reject you in health, but they'll need your hope in their sickness. This is not wishful thinking. This is prophetic truth. God doesn't waste wounds. He weaponizes them. But here's the part that will leave you breathless. Are you ready for this? Those tears weren't just collected for comfort. They were bottled for battle. Every drop of pain you've shed is about to become a river of power flowing through your life. Your loneliness taught you to depend on God alone. Your abandonment showed you that heaven never abandons. Your betrayal proved that human loyalty fails, but divine faithfulness endures forever. Scars into crowns, wounds into weapons, rejection into resurrection. Say it with me. Scars into crowns, wounds into weapons, rejection into resurrection. The enemy thought he was destroying your testimony when he turned your family against you. But he was actually writing your testimony in letters of gold. Every tear was liquid prophecy. Every wound was a window into your destiny. Every scar was a sacred mark proving you survived what should have killed you. Isaiah 61:3 promises that God will give you beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. But notice something powerful. He doesn't remove the ashes. He transforms them. He doesn't erase the mourning. He anoints it. He doesn't delete the heaviness. He clothes it with praise. Your scars don't disappear when God heals you. They become your crown when God promotes you. Chosen one, if you believe that your scars will one day shine like stars, if you know that your wounds will become weapons in God's hands, if you're ready to let heaven transform every tear into triumph, type these 3 words right now. Crown me, Lord, because the coronation is coming. The very family that wounded you is about to witness your elevation, and what they meant for evil, God is about to turn for the greatest good they've ever seen. But first, you must believe that your scars are sacred, that your wounds are worth it, that your pain has prepared you for power beyond anything you've ever imagined. The question is, are you ready to let God turn your deepest wounds into your greatest weapons? Chosen one, the 1st of September is not just another date on your calendar. It is not just the end of summer or the beginning of autumn. The 1st of September is a doorway, a threshold between rejection and recognition, a bridge between the pain of your past and the power of your purpose. For months, maybe years, you have been asking God, when will this end? When will they see who I really am? When will the rejection stop cutting so deep? Tonight, heaven answers, the 1st of September. This is your appointed time. This is your prophetic threshold. Look at your hands right now. Those same hands that wiped away tears from family betrayal are about to be used to wipe away the tears of others. Those same eyes that cried from their cold rejection are about to see visions that will shake nations. That same heart that was broken by their silence is about to beat with the rhythm of heaven's own heartbeat. The old chapter ended with their silence. The new chapter begins with heaven's shout. Do you remember the prophet Jeremiah? God told him in Jeremiah 1:10, I have put my words in your mouth. Today I have set you over nations and kingdoms to uproot and tear down, to destroy and overthrow, to build and to plant. Notice something powerful here. Before God could build through Jeremiah, he had to tear down what was false. Before he could plant new seeds, he had to uproot the old. Your family's rejection was the uprooting. Their silence was the tearing down. Their betrayal was God clearing the ground of your life so he could plant something extraordinary. September 1 marks the end of the demolition phase and the beginning of the construction phase of your destiny. But why the 1st of September? Why this specific threshold? Because in the Hebrew calendar, September often marks the season of Rosh Hashanah, the new year, the time of fresh beginnings, the moment when heaven's books are opened and divine appointments are written for the year ahead. God is aligning your breakthrough with his prophetic calendar. Think about Moses at the burning bush. For 40 years, he wandered in the desert, forgotten by Egypt, rejected by his own people, living as a shepherd when he was born to be a deliverer. Then one ordinary day became extraordinary. One moment changed everything. The 1st of September is your burning bush moment. You have been walking around the walls of rejection for 7 years, maybe longer. 7 years of their cold shoulders, 7 years of unanswered calls, 7 years of holidays where your chair remained empty, 7 years of watching from the outside while they gathered without you. But chosen one, your Jericho moment has arrived. The walls of rejection are shaking. 7 days of circling in confusion are ending. The trumpet is sounding. The wall is falling. Joshua 6:20 declares, "When the trumpet sounded, the army shouted, and at the sound of the trumpet, when the men gave a loud shout, the wall collapsed." Notice it wasn't gradual. It wasn't slow. When God's appointed time came, the wall didn't chip away piece by piece. It collapsed completely, suddenly, supernaturally. That is what is happening to every wall that has separated you from your family, your purpose, your destiny. The 1st of September is your shout day. The day when heaven's trumpet sounds over your life and every barrier that seemed permanent becomes powerless. Can you feel it building? That stirring in your chest, that electricity in the atmosphere around you? That is not anxiety, that is anticipation. Heaven is preparing to move, and your spirit recognizes the sound of breakthrough approaching. No more delay, no more silence, no more rejection. Now is the hour. But here is what you must understand about prophetic thresholds. They require your participation. The Israelites had to shout for the walls to fall. Moses had to stretch out his rod for the sea to part. David had to pick up the stone for the giant to fall. What is God requiring of you on the 1st of September? He is requiring you to stop living like their rejection defines you. He is requiring you to stop making their approval your finish line. He is requiring you to step through the doorway He has opened, even if you have to step through it alone. The 1st of September is your divine reset button. Every lie they spoke over you, erased. Every door they closed in your face, reopened. Every time they made you feel like you didn't belong, overturned. Because chosen one, you were never meant to belong to their small world. You were meant to belong to God's vast kingdom. The old season of begging for their acceptance ends today. The new season of walking in divine authority begins now. The 1st of September is not just a date, it is a declaration. Heaven is declaring that your season of rejection is over and your season of recognition has begun. Type today's date in the comments. Mark it as your prophetic seal. Write it down in your Bible, on your mirror, in your journal. Because heaven will remember this moment. Angels are taking note. Your name is being announced in the courts of glory as someone who crossed the threshold. But crossing the threshold is only the beginning. What you discover on the other side will transform everything you thought you knew about your purpose, your power, and your place in God's eternal plan. Chosen one. We've walked through the valley of rejection together. We've uncovered why your own blood turned against you. We've seen how their betrayal was actually heaven's strategy to separate you from everything that would hold you back from your divine assignment. But now we ascend to the mountaintop. Now we see the full picture. Now you understand that every tear you've cried in that empty house, every holiday you've spent alone, every phone call that never came, it was all preparation for this moment of revelation. You think God forgot about you? Let me tell you what Romans 8:28 really means when it says, all things work together for good. All things, chosen one. Not just the pleasant things, not just the comfortable things, the rejection, the abandonment, the whispered conversations behind your back, the family gatherings you weren't invited to. God was orchestrating every single moment to forge you into the weapon He needs for this final hour. Look at Joseph. His own brothers threw him in a pit and sold him into slavery. For 13 years, he wondered if God had abandoned him. 13 years of prison, false accusations, and forgotten promises. But Genesis 50-20 reveals the master plan. What you meant for evil, God intended for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. Your family didn't reject you because you were weak. They rejected you because your light exposed their darkness. They didn't turn away because you were wrong. They turned away because you were right. And righteousness makes the unrepentant uncomfortable. Think about Jesus himself. John 1:11 cuts deep. He came to his own, and his own people did not receive him. His own hometown tried to throw him off a cliff. His own disciples abandoned him in his darkest hour. His own people chose Barabbas over him. If the Son of God faced rejection from his own family, what makes you think your story would be different? But here's the revelation that will set your soul on fire. Their rejection wasn't the end of your story. It was the beginning of your authority. David was overlooked by his own father when Samuel came to anoint the next king. 7 sons stood tall and impressive, but David wasn't even invited to the ceremony. He was out in the fields with the sheep, forgotten and dismissed. But 1 Samuel 16-7 thunders with truth. The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. Your family looked at your outward circumstances and wrote you off, but God looked at your heart and wrote you in. Every time they called you crazy for your dreams, God called you prophetic. Every time they mocked your faith, heaven applauded your devotion. Every time they whispered you'd never amount to anything, the angels whispered your name before the throne of the Almighty. You are not abandoned. You are anointed. You are not forsaken. You are favored. You are not rejected. You are chosen. Can you feel the atmosphere shifting? Can you sense the weight of heaven's approval settling on your shoulders like a mantle? This, the 1st of September, isn't just another date on the calendar. This is the day heaven marked for your vindication. This is the moment when everything that tried to break you becomes the very foundation of your breakthrough. Just like gold is refined in fire, you are stepping out of this season pure, unshakable, undeniable. The dross has been burned away. The impurities have been removed. What remains is authentic, precious, and powerful beyond measure. Listen to me carefully. Chosen one. The family that turned their back on you. The siblings who wrote you off. The children who stopped calling. The parents who favored everyone else. They're about to witness something that will leave them speechless. This, the 1st of September. Your destiny is no longer hidden. Your scars speak louder than their silences. Your prayers roar louder than their whispers. Your faithfulness shines brighter than their favoritism. The rejection that was meant to prove you were nothing is about to prove you are everything God said you were. What they meant for evil, God turned for good. And the very family that turned their back will one day have to whisper, they were chosen all along. The vindication is coming. The breakthrough is building, the favor is flowing, and nothing, absolutely nothing can stop what God has already ordained for your life. You are not just surviving anymore, beloved. You are thriving. You are not just enduring anymore. You are conquering. You are not just hoping anymore. You are knowing with absolute certainty that your God never fails, never forgets, and never forsakes his chosen ones. Chosen, called, crowned. If this word lit a fire in your soul, don't leave quietly. Comment Amen, subscribe, and share this message with one person who needs to remember they are chosen. Your obedience to share this truth could be the very thing that saves someone's spirit tonight. The rejection is over, chosen one. The recognition has begun, chosen one. As we come to the end of this sacred journey together, I need you to carry these truths with you, like precious stones in your heart. Remember this. Their rejection was never about your worth, it was about your calling. The family members who turned against you could not comprehend the light you carry because spiritual things are spiritually discerned. Your pain was not punishment, it was preparation. Your isolation was not abandonment, it was appointment. Every tear you've cried has been collected in heaven's bottles, and every prayer you've whispered has been recorded in eternity's archives. But hear me clearly, beloved, you are not walking this path alone. Even when your kitchen table feels empty, even when your phone stays silent, even when holidays pass without invitations, the Creator of the universe is orchestrating every moment of your life for your ultimate good. He has never left you, never forgotten you, never given up on you. Romans 8:38-39 reminds us that nothing, not family rejection, not loneliness, not betrayal, nothing can separate you from the love of God. And right here, in this digital sanctuary we've created together, you have found your tribe. Look at these comments below. See these hearts connecting across the miles. You are surrounded by thousands of chosen ones who understand your journey because they've walked the same narrow road. We are here. We see you. We believe in you. We will stand with you in prayer. This community isn't just watching videos. We are a family bound by faith, united by purpose, connected by the same divine calling that sets us apart from the world. When the rejection stings, we're here. When the loneliness overwhelms, we're here. When you need prayer warriors to stand in the gap, we're here. Let me ask you this one final question that will echo in your heart long after this video ends. Now that you know why they turned against you, now that you understand their rejection was actually heaven's confirmation of your choosing, what will you do with this revelation? Will you let their betrayal make you bitter, or will you let God's truth make you better? Before I release you into your destiny, join me in this prayer. Wherever you are right now, in your living room, lying in bed, sitting in your car, close your eyes and let me speak over your life with the authority of heaven behind me. Almighty Father, Creator of heaven and earth, the God who sees in secret and rewards openly, I come before you now carrying every precious soul who has watched this message. Lord, you see the tears they've cried in empty houses. You know the birthdays they've celebrated alone. You've heard every question they've whispered in the darkness. God, why doesn't my own family love me? Tonight, Father, heal every wound that family rejection carved into their hearts. Mend every place where betrayal left them bleeding. Restore every dream that criticism tried to kill. Where they've been overlooked, let them know they are overseen by you. Where they've been undervalued, remind them they are precious in your sight. God, I pray for divine vindication over their lives. Open doors that no man can shut. Restore relationships that honor you. Bring new spiritual family members who will recognize the treasure they are. Give them beauty for ashes, joy for mourning, praise for the spirit of heaviness. But most of all, Lord, help them to forgive. Help them to release the bitterness that wants to take root. Help them to bless those who have cursed them, to pray for those who have used them, to love those who have rejected them, not because the pain wasn't real, but because their hearts are too precious to be poisoned by unforgiveness. Father, position them for their next season. Every day they've spent feeling forgotten has been preparing them for a moment of divine remembrance. Use their scars as credentials, their pain as a platform, their rejection as a launching pad into their destiny. In Jesus' mighty name, let them walk away from this message knowing they are chosen, they are called, they are beloved beyond measure. Amen. Now I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell us how God spoke to your heart tonight. Share your testimony of family rejection and how you're choosing to rise above it. Ask this community to pray for specific areas of your life. We are here for you, and we will lift you up. If this message touched your soul, please share it with someone who needs to hear these words. There's somebody in your life right now who feels exactly the way you felt when you clicked on this video. Be the vessel that carries hope to them. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell. Every week, we're diving deeper into the mysteries of your calling, building a community of chosen ones who refuse to let rejection have the final word. Thank you for staying with me through this entire journey. Thank you for opening your heart to receive what heaven wanted to pour into you tonight. Thank you for being brave enough to face the truth about family rejection and bold enough to believe that your best days are still ahead of you. You are chosen, you are loved, you are never alone. Until we meet again, walk in the authority of who you are, rest in the certainty of whose you are, and know that your story is far from over. God bless you, beloved. Your vindication is coming.